Hello everyone, my name is George. I'm a security analyst here at Bridges, and today I'd like to welcome you to our YouTube page. Bridges is a cybersecurity company based in Thika, Kenya, and we offer services in the cybersecurity space. We do vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. We also do digital forensics and incident response. We also offer security as a managed service to organizations that may not have the capacity to have a full-blown security operations center. We also offer cybersecurity awareness training to staff, and we also offer cyber insurance. Apart from that, we are also ISO 27001 certified, meaning that for all the services that we offer, we are audited to ensure that we keep up with the recommended industry standards. I'd highly encourage you to head over to our website, that is www.ylbridges.co.ke, to have a complete list of the services that we offer, the products that we offer, and also the clients that we've worked with before. I'd also highly encourage you to consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to this YouTube page for more of this content. Alright, so today we'll be looking at SQL injection, the different types of SQL injection that we have, and also the mitigation strategies that we would employ against this vulnerability. So what is SQL injection? So this is a vulnerability that allows an attacker to bypass the basic authentication mechanism of a web application, and it would allow them to have unauthorized access to the web application. So you can think of this as someone trying to sneak into the web application through the front door, right? As opposed to someone brute forcing their way into the web application. In this case, they would be sneaking in, and the web application would be treating them as if they were a legitimate registered user, right? So in a nutshell, that's how we define SQL injection, right? And you're going to understand this more as we go into our labs and have a practical view of that. So for the types of SQL injection that we have, the first one is inbound SQL injection, and in this one you can think of it as, let's say we have a login page to our website or web application, and in that login page we have the username and the password, right? So in the username field, an attacker would input some code or input some characters, and then based of that character and the way they're interpreted by the web application, would get some feedback based off of that, right? So whether the web application is using a certain type of database, the different kind of services that are running, the web server, what kind of web server it would have. That is the kind of feedback that we'd have in case a web application is vulnerable to inbound SQL injection. And in this tutorial, that's what we're going to be looking at. The second one that we have is blind SQL injection, and in blind, in this case, an attacker will not be able to get direct feedback concerning the underlying infrastructure. Let's say, for instance, the server, the web server, or the database. In this case, they'll be able to learn more about the behavior of the web application by inferring how it reacts to a certain type of code that it has been given to interpret, right? That is blind. There wouldn't be a direct feedback given back to us concerning the underlying infrastructure or the underlying services that are running. And the third one that we have is out of band SQL injection. It's not very common because it usually depends on the settings that the database has been the different features of the database has been configured to, right? But in case a web application is vulnerable to this out of band, it will be just as devastating as the other two. And in this case, an attacker would send the feedback to an external resource. So you can think of it as a website that they own or something similar to that, so that they can be able to learn more about the web application. So in terms of the mitigation strategies that we would employ, the first one would be code review. Just to ensure that our code is periodically reviewed, to ensure that it does not allow anything that would give feedback to the user that is interacting with the web application. So periodic code review would be a good mitigation strategy. The second one would be to employ a web application firewall. The good thing with our web application firewall is that it not only prevents this SQL injection from being executed, but also prevents so many other different attacks, right? Like the distributed denial of service, XSS, attacks, that is cross-site scripting attacks. It prevents so many attacks from being executed. The other one is use of prepared statements, and this one is, instead of using the classic SQL injection, the classic SQL statement, the classic SQL statement, in this case we are using prepared statements. So prepared statements is in terms of the input that is received from the web application is interpreted before being passed to the backend of the web application. The fourth one is input validation. This is just to ensure that the different characters, that we do not have unauthorized characters being passed to the web application. Unauthorized characters like special characters, that is the apostrophe, the double quotes, the question mark, they are not allowed. We have input validation. They are sanitized before before being passed to the backend of the web application. So with that, let's go to our labs and see what we can do with this information that we have so far. Alright, so we are ready into our lab, and in this lab we have an online shop that allows users to log in and do their shopping. So the concept of this is that users have an account into the web application. Basically, maybe they even have an account that has credit loaded, and they have their shopping history, stuff like that. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be attempting to log into this web application without supplying any credentials. We do not have an account in this application, but what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be bypassing the authentication mechanism. And as you can see, I already solved this lab before, but we're going to be going through it again. So here is where we input our username and our password over here. But for now, since you don't have an account and you do not intend to register, we're just malicious, we are going to be bypassing that. And the way we're going to be doing that is by inputting an apostrophe, and I already did that. I'm going to be inputting an apostrophe, or 1 is equals to 1 and dash dash dash, and I'm going to explain what this means. So the apostrophe over here is going to be breaking out of the typical SQL statement, and the typical SQL statement looks like something like something like here. So when you input the username and the password, what this one is going to be, what that username and password is going to be looked at by the parser or the web application in the backend, is going to ensure that the username that we supplied is equal to the username in the backend, to the username in the database, right? And the password that we supplied is equal to the password that matches the password of the username that we supplied, right? And if it doesn't match for that, we're going to get an invalid login. But for now, what we've done, we did supply this apostrophe over here, and what that means is that in this SQL statement that is going to be executed in the backend, we are going to be breaking out of it over here, right? So right over here, so it's going to read select star from username, where username, break out of that. So nothing is going to be supplied because you didn't supply any username. So but after breaking from there, so now we have an empty SQL statement over here. So the statement looks like this: select star from username, where username, nothing, since we broke out of that, out of the SQL statement, and then or 1 is equals to 1. So since this is always going to evaluate to true, we are going to be logged into the web application. This is always going to be true, and then this dash 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 at the end is going to comment out anything else that the backend web application might require of us, right? Maybe it requires us to select where another where clause, where maybe gifts is equals to true, or where products is valid, something like that. So it's going to break out of it's going to comment the rest of the code, and everything in the backend is going to be displayed back to us as if we had input that, as if we had that where clause in each and every SQL statement. So I'm going to copy this as well to the password, and then we're going to click on login, see what it's going to show us. And as you can see, we are already logged in, and we are logged in as the administrator, right? So as an admin, we'll be able to see the number of users that we have, be able to see the different accounts, be able to even manipulate the stock if you have that feature, if the admin has that feature enabled, which they would, because they are the administrator, right? And as simple as this looks, it's pretty devastating. It's pretty devastating in itself. There was a website that was recently seized by the FBI. It's called Raid Forums, and that's where stolen databases will be sold, and also user accounts. So if you're able to do this, the next step will be for us to use the SQL map to just dump the whole database. And if our web application is vulnerable to SQL injection, most likely we can be able to dump the whole database and have access to pretty much the whole organization, right? But it's pretty devastating, and that would bring us to the end of this video. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. If you found it informative, please like, a share, or even commenting down below on what you'd like us to do next. If you'd like any of the services that we earlier mentioned, you could give us a call on 0703 412 771, or you could write to us through our office email, that is office@yalbridges.com. Or if you're ever in town, you could visit us. We are based at T Plaza, that is in 4th floor. Until next time, have a good one.